Good evening, visitors. Welcome to the Australian War Memorial's last post ceremony. My name is Troy Clayton, and joining us today from the Royal Australian Navy is Chief Petty Officer David Osborne. We warmly welcome the family of Trooper Walter Edward Smale, whose story will be told shortly. We welcome the veterans who have served, those that are still serving, and the families that support them. We also acknowledge the members of the RSL and Services Club Association, RSL Victoria and RSL Queensland who are watching this ceremony broadcast across Australia. During this evening's ceremony, wreaths will be laid at the base of the Pool of Reflection by family, visitors and students on behalf of the following schools. From New South Wales, Moree Public School and Wyoming Public School. And from Queensland, Capricornia School of Distance. Please stand and join in singing the National Anthem. Thank you, girls and boys. You may be seated. The Australian War Memorial was the vision of Charles Bean, Australia's First World War official historian. Bean landed with the Australian troops on Gallipoli and stayed with them at the front through to the end of the war. The idea of this national memorial and museum came to him at Pozières, France, in the depths of the bloody fighting of 1916. Bean's idea was that this would be a place where families and friends could mourn their loved ones buried in faraway places. It would also be a place that could help all Australians understand what these men and women had endured and what they had done for us. Bean's vision, to which we remain true, is best expressed as inscribed in the entrance to the memorial's galleries. Here is their spirit, in the heart of the land they loved, and here we guard the record which they themselves made. Tonight, we will read the story behind just one of those on the Roll of Honour, which lists the names of more than 102,000 men and women who have given their lives for us in war and operations for more than a century. But first we present a lament, Flowers of the Forest. Wreaths or floral tributes will now be laid at the base of the Pool of Reflection.
Today we remember and pay tribute to Trooper Walter Edward Smale. Walter Smale was born in 1896 in Freestone, Queensland. His mother, Emily, was a Uigura woman, and his father, Alfred, was an English immigrant. The young Smale attended Freestone State School and was known in the region as a promising footballer. By the time Australia entered the First World War, he was working on the family farm. Smale enlisted in the Australian Imperial Force at nearby Warwick in December 1914. Many Indigenous Australians who tried to enlist during the First World War, particularly during the early years, were rejected on the grounds of race. Others, such as Walter Smale, whose enlistment form describes him as having a dark complexion, slipped through the net. Smale's older brother James was living in New Zealand with his wife and young daughter at the time. As the war continued, James was conscripted in 1917 and served with New Zealand's 33rd Regiment's Specialist Company. After a period of training, Walter Smale embarked from Brisbane on the troop ship Itera with reinforcements to the 2nd Light Horse Regiment in February 1915. On arriving in Egypt, he went into training with his regiment. Soon after the Gallipoli landing, it was quickly realised that the British and Dominion troops would face a shortage of manpower. A decision was made to send some light horse regiments to Gallipoli without their horses to reinforce the infantry. The 2nd Light Horse Regiment arrived on the peninsula on the 12th of May 1915. The regiment played a largely defensive role for some months, but in August it was called upon to attack Turkish trenches opposite Quinn's Post. A small operation in comparison to the major attacks of the August offensive. This broke up when a Turkish machine gun began taking a number of casualties. The attack was not renewed and the 2nd Light Horse Regiment took more than 50 casualties, including 14 killed. Among the dead was Walter Smale. Smale's mate, Private Stanley, later wrote from the military hospital on Malta to explain to his friend's mother what had happened. Your son was killed at Quinn's Post at Gaba Tepe, and he was in the very forefront of the line. He was a bomb thrower, whose job was to throw bombs into the enemy's trenches to give the men with bayonets a chance to get a good footing. He was picked for this because of his good throwing powers. He could hurl a bomb 50 yards and hit the trench nearly every time. He had to do this on the day of the charge. With others, he had to climb out of our trenches and run to the enemy's, carrying 10 or 12 bombs, in the face of very heavy fire. He died on the parapet of the enemy's trench, a brave man to the last. Smale was buried nearby at Quinn's Post Cemetery. He was 19 years old. His name is listed on the Roll of Honour to my right, among more than 60,000 Australians who died while serving in the First World War. This is one of but many stories and sacrifice told here at the Australian War Memorial. Now we remember Trooper Walter Edward Smale, who gave his life for us, for our freedoms, and in the hope of a better world.
Please stand for the reading of the Ode and the sounding of the last post.
They shall grow not old, as we that are left grow old. Age shall not weary them, nor the years condemn. At the going down of the sun, and in the morning, we will remember them. lest we forget.
Lest we forget. We leave you this evening with the words of the memorial's founder, Charles Bean. Many a man lying out there at Pozières or in the low scrub of Gallipoli, with his poor, tired senses barely working through the fever of his brain, has thought in his last moments, well, it's over. But in Australia, they will be proud of this. Ladies and gentlemen, girls and boys, that concludes the last post ceremony. We'd like to thank you for visiting the Australian War Memorial and wish you all a very good evening. Thank you.